I've been doing it for almost 30 years, and it's just been a beautiful partnership, and the transition has worked out very well.
So many times in the investment world, you see people make a good deal, and once they make a good deal, people say, well, you should do another deal. Today, the deal you've done with the Minnesota Timberwolves seems to be, from the outside, a very, very attractive deal, because recently a team was sold for $4 billion, the Phoenix Suns, and another team, a partial sale at roughly, I think, a $3.5 billion valuation. You bought a team for about $1.5 billion. So 1.5, 3.5, 4 billion. You seem like you have a pretty good deal there. So are you thinking of doing more deals, or people calling up and saying, I'll give you some money to invest?
We have a lot of phone calls inbound that some we take, some we don't. There's a lot of great friends, Titans like yourself, in the industry that are intrigued about sports. They're intrigued about our deal, about the structure. But what people don't talk about, David, is it took me 25 years to get to a deal like that. My partner, Mark Laurie, has been one of the greatest entrepreneurs in e-commerce for the last 25 years. And we both have worked hard, and it was kind of the perfect storm for us. And again, I think at the time it was a very fair price coming out of COVID. We didn't know if COVID was going to last 2 years or 5 years or forever. I mean, it was a very scary time, and we stepped up, and it's worked out well. Now, we're also not sellers. So, you mentioned some really big and fancy numbers, but we want to have this asset for generations and generations.
So you live in Miami. The team is in Minnesota, so you obviously like M as a letter, but you have to go all the way to Minnesota to watch the games and go around the country. Is that a bit of a pain because it's not in your hometown?
Well, we have that in common. I'm on the plane a lot, and I try to go to at least half the home games. When I sat down with some of my friends and mentors, like the Jerry Joneses of the world, Jerry Reinsdorf, Robert and Jonathan Kraft, the one thing they talked about from the get-go is, Alex, this can be a hobby, this has to be a lifestyle. If it's not that, do not get into it. You must be at games. You and your partner, Mark Laurie, have to be at games and be engaged and think about customer service first.
Your partner, Mark Laurie, started Jet.com, which he sold to Walmart for a pretty good price, and he's well known in the business world. How did you get to know him?
So we were introduced by a mutual friend, and he was introduced to me as the Walmart guy. And I was like, well, that's great, but I'm not sure I really want to meet the Walmart guy. And when I met him, he was the exact opposite. But what's great about Mark is we have a lot of things in common. We're both New Yorkers. We both come from single mothers, very strong mothers. Both have 2 daughters. And everything, we're very complementary in set of skills. Everything that I'm terrible at, and that's a long list, he is incredible. And then some of the experience that I have in sports over the last 30 years complement his set of skills.
So Ted Williams, considered one of the greatest hitters of all time, used to say the hardest thing in sports is to hit a baseball that's coming at you at roughly 100 miles an hour. Do you agree that that's one of the hardest things to do in sports?
I agree, and I think hitting, and Warren Buffett talks about, kind of staying in your circle of competence in the batting zone, is the other thing is 100 miles an hour can also come at your head, and you have to make decisions that quickly. And it's not just, if that ball hits you in the head, it doesn't just take you out of baseball, it might take your life away. So I feel in many ways, when I think about my business career, I've been trained for 30 years to do what I'm doing today.
Now, Warren Buffett's somebody you've mentioned, and Warren Buffett is somebody you've met and you know. What does he tell you about investing? He tells you to just do what he does, or what does he tell you?
Pretty much. I mean, one of the things, we have this great connection about the love for baseball. And the reason why Warren and I got to know each other is he insured my contract, the 252. I reached out to him and I said, Warren, now that we're business partners, maybe I can come see you in Omaha. I thought I would never get an email back. And Debbie, who's been with him for over 40 years, wrote back and said, how's October? I said, I'll be there because we're not going to the playoffs. And that led a series of 5 or 6 years where I go back to Omaha. And the one thing that I always remember about Warren is he said, Alex, you always want to be a gentleman. You want to be a great baseball player. And then the 2 rules of investing are, 1, never lose money, and number 2, don't forget rule number 1.
And your mother is alive, and does she give you advice? She call you and say, do this or do that?
Yeah, my mother lives in the same house for the last 25 years, And she would be able to call me and say, you got to get your elbow up, you got to get your elbow down. Now she says, why are you investing in real estate? You should be investing in basketball or baseball. She's always giving me some advice.
And you have been listening to Alex Rodriguez, Chairman and CEO of A-Rod Corp. on Bloomberg Wealth with David Rubenstein.
Coming up, we'll hear more from A-Rod on investing cautiously, including where he'd tell you to put your money right now.
And you are listening to Bloomberg Wealth with David Rubenstein, part of our Best of Bloomberg series.
And this is Bloomberg. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is New York's only 24-hour source for breaking business news and market-moving headlines. Bloomberg 1130. Now, a global news update.
World leaders are congratulating King Charles III and Queen Camilla on their coronation. The two were formally crowned today at a historic ceremony at Westminster Abbey in London. President Biden offered his congratulations and said the enduring friendship between the U.S. and the U.K. is a source of strength for both nations. The favorite for the 149th Kentucky Derby has been scratched. For the owner of Derby favorite Forte, history seems to be repeating itself.
I'm devastated about my friends and family back to the hotel. I get to tell that we have to scratch the Derby favorite. Almost deja vu all over again.
In 2011, owner Mike Rapoli had to withdraw Derby favorite Uncle Mo the day before the race due to what turned out to be a rare liver disease. The State Racing Commission vet reportedly scratched Forte this morning because of a bruise on the horse's foot. And it's now day 5 of the writer's strike that's bringing a halt to Hollywood film and TV productions. No word on whether talks may resume. I'm Brad C.
And I'm Denise Pellegrini in the Bloomberg Newsroom. Berkshire Hathaway reporting a gain in operating earnings, but forecasting declines going forward. Events unfolding this weekend at that big annual shareholder meeting ongoing in Omaha. And Bloomberg editor Sally Bakewell says despite the festivities there, Buffett is warning about a downturn in virtually all of his units going forward. And he also spoke about the turmoil in the banking industry.
Question from the audience asked what would have happened to Silicon Valley Bank, which was one of the banks that collapsed, if the government hadn't stepped in to backstop its depositors. Warren Buffett, in no uncertain terms, said it would have been catastrophic. Now, remember that Warren Buffett, we reported in the early stages of the crisis, was in talks with the Biden administration over some sort of role for the billionaire investor. We didn't really get to the bottom of what that was, but it did include the possibility for Berkshire Hathaway to invest in the U.S. regional banking system.
And Bloomberg editor Sally Bakewell also saying Buffett also said the commercial real estate industry is feeling the rising interest rate environment. With all the turmoil in the banking industry and, of course, the rising interest rate environment, travel still somewhat of a bright spot. Booking Holdings and Expedia Group, well, they both reported double-digit increases in gross bookings in the first quarter. More on that part of the economy from Bloomberg's Charlie Pellet.
It signals strong demand for travel despite high rates of inflation and a cloudy economic outlook. At Norwalk, Connecticut-based Booking, whose properties include restaurant reservation platform OpenTable and discounted flight website Priceline, gross bookings were up 44% to $39.4 billion. For Seattle-based Expedia, which provides pricing and availability information for airlines, hotels, and car rentals, and also owns the Verbo home rental site, revenue was up 18% to $2.67 billion.
All right, thank you, Charlie. And Chanel, Tiffany, and Gucci wowing with new ultra-luxury stores in New York and Los Angeles. Tiffany unveiling that major redo of its iconic Fifth Avenue landmark. And Chanel opening its new Rodeo Drive flagship in Beverly Hills. That's its biggest in the U.S. It's about 30,000 square feet. Global News, 24 hours a day, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. I'm Denise Pellegrini, and this is Bloomberg. Now let's check on Bloomberg Sports.
The Knicks battled the Heat in Game 3 in Miami with the series tied at 1. In Los Angeles, the Lakers and Warriors. The Yankees and Braves played the second of 3 in St. Petersburg. The Mets continue their weekend series with the Rockies at Citi Field. Today's a Kentucky Derby. Forte, the favorite, has been scratched after a Saturday morning workout, first time since '57. They're in the third round at the Wells Fargo Championship. Wyndham Clark and 2 others share the lead. That's a Bloomberg Sports Update. I'm Joel Stern. Wall Street prepares for the latest read on inflation.
A significant drop in headline CPI.
With overall inflation shows some progress as expected.
We didn't get gloom. We got spot on statistics.
The Fed has got forward guidance for data dependency, giving the numbers even greater importance.
I run the FOMC and I got this data. Would I feel comforted?
Instant reaction on Bloomberg surveillance.
Much lower than the previous month-over-month move.
Inflation in focus. Wednesday morning at 8:30 on Bloomberg 1130 and Bloomberg Television.
Visit MasterCard, opening doors, narrowing gaps, and driving real change. This is solidarity in action. MasterCard is committed to creating an economy that includes everyone through investment, through technology, through partnership, by leveraging our powers and networks to create true transformation, by implementing in speed and scale. Not long ago, it was a promise. Today, it's progress. And where we're headed is priceless.
Bloomberg Invest returns to New York June 6th through the 8th. We'll have influential leaders from the NASDAQ, JP Morgan, the SEC, Franklin Templeton, the WNBA, Charles Schwab, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and many more. U.S. presenting sponsor, Invesco QQQ. Presenting sponsors, Allspring Global Investments, Neon, and Principal Asset Management. Participating sponsor, Southern Company. Register at BloombergLive.com/invest/radio.
Of course, I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm a boss.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. It took 3 years of trial and error, but hybrid work environments are becoming more inclusive for women, according to Deloitte's recent third annual Women at Work survey, which polled 5,000 women from 10 different countries. In the report, only 37% of women who work on a hybrid schedule said they feel left out. That's down from 58%. Bloomberg quality reporter Alice Zeron.
So that shows that we're figuring out the ebbs and flows and ups and downs of hybrid work, and things are getting better for women in some respects.
In some respects, but not all.
Problems are on the rise. Their in-office expectations are differing from what these bosses are saying. The bosses might say, you should be in the office 3 days a week, but the unspoken expectation is really 4 or 5 days a week.
And as more women, some 52%, return to the office full-time,
some women feel like they need to be in the office more than the rules say, or that they don't have enough flexibility, and there's a lack of predictability in their work environments. And those numbers, for all of those feelings, are on the rise.
Kimberly Adams, Bloomberg Radio.
Bloomberg Radio, on demand and in your podcast feed.
On the latest edition of the Bloomberg Business Week podcast, a conversation with Bloomberg Business Week editor Joel Weber and features writer and New York Times bestselling author Ashley Vance on his new book, How a Dishwasher Engineer Challenged Musk Dominance in Space. An excerpt from Ashley's book is this week's Business Week cover story.
I'm really excited about this book because, Business Week did a space issue a number of years ago, and wow, it was ahead of its time, but not as quite as thorough as Ashley's book, which takes this idea of look, there's going to be a space economy, and it's going to look completely different than anything that's come before it. It's going to involve a lot more satellites in space, and this low Earth orbit thing. Just get ready to hear so much more about it. And the entrepreneurs that this brings out, obviously there's the Elon Musk and the SpaceX thing, and they really helped pioneer what this looks like, but they are not alone, and that brings us to the excerpt because there's this really unlikely SpaceX rival that Ashley found, and by unlikely, I mean you couldn't imagine a more unlikely candidate, right, Ashley?
Yeah, well, no, it is a one-of-a-kind story. You've got this guy named Peter Beck, who's from New Zealand. I think a lot of times in space we think of, either the billionaires or you're like a NASA veteran or some MIT PhD, but Peter, he's like this possessed engineer who is doing all this rocketry stuff in his spare time in a shed outside of his house.
Hear the full conversation on the latest edition of the Bloomberg Business Week podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Plus, listen anytime. Bloomberg Business app, and Bloomberg.com. I'm Ed Baxter.
And I'm Louise Pellegrini. You're listening to Bloomberg Wealth with David Rubenstein, part of our Best of Bloomberg series.
In this episode, we're hearing from Alex Rodriguez, Chairman and CEO of A-Rod Corp., about his investment philosophy when it comes to athletes, and also about investment advice A-Rod got from Warren Buffett, billionaire chairman of Berkshire Hathaway.
And here is David Rubenstein with A-Rod on all that. Let's listen in.
Well, let's suppose I gave you $100,000 today. I said, I don't want to lose $100,000. Where should I put that $100,000? Where would you put it?
I would keep it in T-bills right now. I would not do anything. Everything is, to me, is still kind of very expensive.
So the best investment advice you ever got was from Warren Buffett or from whom?
I think so. And really kind of stick into your circle of competence. And Warren always talks about, Alex, go out and buy the greatest business you can with the best management team and pay a fair price. Don't buy an average business and pay a great price.
And what is the biggest investment mistake that you think people make? Generally, when you look at other investors, what do you think the biggest mistake is? They get caught up in some phenomena at some point. What do you think is the biggest mistake that you observe people making?
I think for the most part, I can speak about athletes. If athletes replace the word business manager with investment banker and make sure he was a good one, and then have some economic alignment. So, David, if you were my business, my investment bank, I would say, look, I'm going to give you $10. I'm going to pay you nothing. However, if this $10 over time gets to 110, I'll give you 10% of the 100 profit, and then you walk away with $10. I think more of that, some simplicity, some alignment, would be very helpful. And the other part is, a lot of people overestimate their ability. Just because I'm good at baseball doesn't mean I'm going to be good at investing. You got to work really hard, and you got to surround yourself with the best people in the world. Just like you want to win a championship in baseball, the same formula works in business.
Your incredible career, investment career, baseball career, sports ownership career. What is it that you're most proud of having achieved?
David, my life changed when my father left at the age of 10. And I remember watching my mother go through all the pain and torture of having to raise two kids in a very tough environment. I made a promise to myself that I said, dear God, if I ever get an opportunity to be a father, there was a little prayer that I said, I'm going to make sure that I'm a present father, and that's my number one responsibility in life. So I think when it's all said and done, my fatherhood